Hello, how you going? My name's David. I'm just here to talk to you about FND today. FND, functional neurological disorder. So what? FND affects quite a lot of people, not just here in Australia, but around the world. And it is where your brain does not acknowledge or does not it's where your brain scrambles signals from your nerve system to your body. And in layman's term, what it means is if you put something into your computer and it won't work, and yet you put it into your mate's computer and it does work, it's because the program won't work properly in your computer, and your brain's no different. The program is not working properly to allow you to be able to operate properly. Areas it affects is your speech, your hearing, your walking, your bladder, your bowels, it affects your eyesight. It affects many parts of the body, and not everybody has one or the other. It has many different. They may manifest in different areas. There are people who can't walk literally and are confined to a wheelchair. Myself personally, I do stutter a lot, and I also have a mobility walker because my legs will collapse from underneath me and I end up falling to the floor. On other occasions, we also have seizures and also tremors quite regularly, and it makes it very hard for you to operate. Fatigue is also another big area that really affects a lot of people. One wants to take ownership of it. Because it falls under neurological, obviously being the brain, and then
also under psychological being it may be brought on by trauma, by different things that have happened through life. And the psychological side of it is dealt with by psychiatrists and psychologists, but they don't deal with the organic side of it, which is your movement, your everything else that goes with the body, as in moving your arms, moving your legs, talking, walking, speaking, seeing, even hearing. So we have on one side the neurological who struggle to take ownership of it because it has a part of it which is involved in psychological, and then the psychological side of it won't take ownership because they say, well, in fact, it's actually a motor issue or an organic issue is the word they use. So then you have the two of them, and we're stuck in the middle. Now you have some neurologists who are well and truly on board, and you have neuropsychs as well. And trying to find those and getting access to those people is not easy. There was a public clinic open here in Queensland by Dr. Alex Len. Dr. Len is a fantastic neurologist, and he opened this with the intention of giving people access to it and access to the services that they require. A lot of people don't have access to private health insurance and those things, so they rely on the public system to be able to get the care that they need. Now, in the case of the clinic that was opened in Brisbane, they've actually had to close the waiting list on it because it is now out to 3 years. You didn't hear me wrong, that is 3 years. For us who do have private health insurance, whilst we still have a lot of out-of-pocket expenses, we're able to get the care we need a lot sooner. And now you're in the other situation where you because you're in the private sector, everything you need doing, you have to pay for, and it's not cheap. It's a difficult one to describe because, like a day like today, I'm having what I would class as a very good day. I've managed to do a couple of tasks around the house here. I've managed to be able to achieve things that on a not so good day I wouldn't be doing any of.
average day for me is I would get up and see everybody off to work first, my wife and my family, and then I will sit down and have a rest for a while, and then if I'm able to, I will then go and put the washing on and assist in that area there. But then I find that I am so tired and fatigued that I'll end up falling asleep for a couple of hours, literally, because that's just what the body does. And from there, I then may wake up and finish getting the washing on the line or whatever I can do, and pretty much the rest of the day is a washout because it impacts me in such a way. I'll be 59 this year, and I never thought that I'd ever be told that you can't go back to work. I've worked since 1975, and every day of my life is all about providing for my family. To be told that suddenly you can't provide, to told that I have not driven a car in six and a half months. I live for my cars. I am a car crazy guy, and suddenly not being able to drive is something that I've really struggled with, literally, and things like that. And they're areas that you don't really think about. So for me to go to the pharmacy, pick up some medications, to go to a doctor's appointment, go to physio, all those things, I rely on other people. And that is hard because it hits your pride, it hits your individuality, to suddenly be told that you go to the toilet and you're in a public place and you turn around and there's either one or two family members following you because they're worried about you falling, they're worried about you collapsing. And it's out of love that they do that. But things that you took for granted before. On a bad day, my wife has to get me in and out of the shower and shower me. And then she has to dress me because I can't dress myself. And that's how severe it can get at times. And trying to get government bodies to understand this, trying to get government bodies to give the necessary help that's required is not an easy task. It is a difficult disease, and it in fact is the second highest, next to headaches, that people go and see a neurologist. So you think about that. Next to headaches and migraines, it is the next highest number of reason that a person is referred to a neurologist. Now, I was fortunate when I was diagnosed. I was actually already in hospital with a chronic cough and other issues I have for an autoimmune disease. And I was ready to go home and I collapsed, literally collapsed. I was shaking, I was incoherent, I was just so hard to explain, and that's what it was like. And then I had to go through a whole raft of tests, from ECGs through to EEGs, through to MRIs, through to CT scans, through to everything, blood tests it twice a day, and yet everything came back normal. I remember saying to my doctor, if you use that word one more time, I'm going to do something that I might regret. And this doctor is a doctor that has cared for me for a lot of years, and he is a fantastic bloke. And he could understand where I was coming from. He then had a neurologist come in and see me, and she sat down with me and she went through all the tests, and she said to me, I know exactly what your problem is. And unfortunately, I don't have any quick fixes for it. It's called functional neurological disorder. From there, I was transferred across to the neuroscience ward on I felt that I was starting to come good, and then on 3 occasions walking down the hallways of the hospital, I fell, and I knew straight away that, yeah, things aren't exactly how they should be. And from that point on, I've been seeing psychiatrists, psychologists, and physiotherapy. Physiotherapy, they're the two of the main areas that will help. There is no drug to fix the problem. There is no quick fixes that are going to get you right overnight. People recover from it, or go into a remission, if you like to call that, and then people will have relapses. And then there are other people out there that have no such thing as recovery, but obviously adjust your life to be able to deal with it. I went home, and for a period of time, things seemed to be going not so bad, having 2 or 3 tremors a week. And then I joined a couple of different groups of people going through exactly the same things as me. And I got to meet and talk to others who were going through the same things. And it was amazing, the community out there that has these same problems. And it's not just for me, it's for my partner, my wife, and what she's going through. It's the same for her, because even though she hasn't got the disease, she's going off to work every day of the week to try and support us as a family. She is the one who struggles every day of the week to come home and check the house is right, and do the things that a mother does. We're fortunate we have adult children, and they're very, very understanding. I had the pleasure, if you call it the pleasure, of meeting a gentleman. A call went out, asked if anyone was around the hospital, could they go and say good day to him. And this gentleman was actually up from Canberra. Now, for you who are here in Australia, know that Canberra is the capital. It is where all our parliamentarians are and everything. His wife literally had to pack up the family from Canberra to come to Brisbane to see Dr. Alex Len, because they could not get the care, they could not get the help that they needed for him. This guy is a fantastic guy. He's a family man. He has children. His youngest was 7 weeks old when he was diagnosed with this disease. And to see him, and he's a lot younger than I am, you think to yourself, wow, this is one disease that really does impact. I use the word disease, others don't, but to me, whether it's a disease, a disorder, whatever you want to use, I'm not one who hangs on words, but it is such an impact on a family that they move themselves halfway up the coast to Brisbane from Canberra because they couldn't get the treatment down there. And this is where all your major politicians, this is the centre of politics, this is the centre of Australia where all the major decisions are made, and he couldn't get care down there for himself. What's that tell you? In Australia here alone, there are only 2 major centres that care for this disorder. And that's the one in Brisbane, which I told you about earlier, and there's also one in Melbourne. Not on the same scale as Brisbane, but certainly they're doing their best to be able to cope with the problems. Now you think about that. A person in Brisbane, if they want to go and see the doctor, get themselves diagnosed properly, get themselves the treatment they need, they've got a 3-year waiting list. 3 years, because we don't have the funding, because we don't have the knowledge, because we don't have the specialists who can deal with it, who can help the people like Dr. Alex. This is I heard a term just recently at a workshop I went to. Functional neurological disorder, also used to be known as conversion disorder, is where multiple sclerosis was 30 years ago. as far as people understanding it, as far as knowledge. Think about that. It impacts a lot of people, not just the patient, but the families as well that go along with those patients. I guess the idea today is to really try and raise awareness of functional neurological disorder and try and let people know just how much of an impact it has on people's lives. You think about someone with Parkinson's disease. You think about someone with multiple sclerosis. And please understand, I am not in any way putting those or belittling those diseases, because they are atrocious, they are serious, and really needs to get some breakthrough for those particular diseases. Functional neurological disorder can be very easily misdiagnosed as a Parkinson's disease, as a multiple sclerosis disease, because it displays similar signs to those two. It displays different areas, as in the tremors, as in the seizures, as in the shakes. A lady shared the story the other week. She was at her son's football. And by the time she left football, there was another 100 people at that football that understood what FND was. She had a seizure. Now, when I say seizures, you're immediately thinking of epilepsy. Well, rightly so, you might think of epilepsy. But what I'm talking about is a dissociated seizure. In other words, it doesn't have the same impact. It is not epilepsy. So it's not the same in the way it impacts the body, in the sense that we can take a drug and fix it. And for anyone who does get diagnosed with epilepsy and then found out later that they've got FND, the drugs can actually do them more harm than good. In a lot of cases, the first thing they do is people who are having these seizures, they put the EEGs on them and measure the brain waves. And to their surprise, there is no electric brain waves going through that are causing the seizure. If you put the EEG on a person who has epilepsy while they're having a seizure, you will see the electrical energies going through the brain. I hope that's sort of given you an insight into it. There are a number of areas that you can go to look up if you're interested in finding out more about FND. I'm not saying what I've said here today is totally correct. I'm not a medical scholar. I'm not a person who studies everything. I'm just an individual that is going through FND. But I would dearly love those who are interested just to just to Google FND, and it will bring up a myriad of different places you can go to, including some sites in the UK, some very good websites here in Australia, and hopefully they'll give you a bit more understanding. Thank you for your time, and I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Bye for now.